3:30 Eastern. Live trade ideas Q&A here. And give a few moments to let everybody start to pile in. See if we can't generate some questions, some engagement here. If anybody has any questions right off the bat, fire them away, please. If not, we go to second here and start to take a dive around my trade ideas layout for everybody. Quiet day on my alert windows. A mixed day from Holly. And a choppy downwards day in the market. All right, so nobody coming in with any questions yet. So take a dive around a few things here that I've seen setting up and been a promoter of it and talked about it a lot. The Strength Alerts alert window, not the Strength Alerts channel where you get the 5 curated ideas, but the actual algo that those 5 ideas come from. Some things that have popped up on there recently that I took some shots with today. CHRS was on this a little bit here. Not sure if it's still on that or not. It was on there a few days ago. I'd set some price alerts with it. They went off. Some things that really interested me on this and why I took the trade. So first off, we were working with that short float of almost 14% there, but I could see shorts had been moving out, so already knew. We were past earnings last night, and we got this big gap down here and a strong move back up on it. So I felt a safe range had been established for me to have a decent risk reward here. Spread wasn't great, so I had to work that spread a little bit with a limit order. But liked what I saw here off this bar move and this flag that happened here and this next move up. So I decided to get in here. All right. Now, if we peel back a little bit here on the daily chart, to give you an idea of what I was thinking, is that getting through this level here meant we would kind of keep going. I felt like we were going to go right through this considering how strong that was off that gap down and give us room up to here to somewhere around that 20 range. And leaving my stop at the low of today, actually. So, risking a little over $1 to make a little under 3. And that was the idea there. So almost a 1 to 3 risk ratio there for me. I've sold some as we went up. It's a choppy market. This is what we're getting with the SPY today. So just wasn't, so sure about holding on to all that. So I sold a good chunk, hold the rest, roll the dice on the trading plan. So that's kind of, something I found from the TI Strength Alerts. And then one other one here. Just going to hold it going into the close, but ANY, it had been a strength alert from a few weeks ago when it actually did this. It was a great strength alert then. And then looking at this chart here, saw this beautiful pattern starting to form out for me here. That's what I'm looking at there, but I don't like to go chase things early in the day. So, we saw that go on, made this move. Didn't seem like it could really push down below what seems to be another level of support being established here, I think. And so I took my shot here. Sat through a little bit of pain, chopping around, but now it's starting to make that move up for me. So I'm going to hold that into the close. And same kind of theme. Put my stop here leave my stop here just around the top of this gap that's right there. So somewhere around that 660 area or so, 650, give or take. Looking at that 850-ish, 860-ish range that's up there, so more closer to a 2-to-1 ratio. Looking for on winner to loser for that. So just a shot in the arm there of what I had going on today, regardless that I had some kind of quiet alert windows there. So if anybody has any questions, again, keep it an open forum. I do like it when the questions come in for an engagement like that. More about the software, the platform itself. Let's see, we're inside 24 minutes for market close, so hold off on doing any kind of real market rundown. Again, I don't know that there's much market rundown to do. We're kind of sitting in a steady pattern here after a run up on all the indexes. I'd say most of the sectors are going to look mostly the same as they have the last 3-4 trading days. But, jump around and engage and take a look at those types of content anyway. I'm sorry, just reading some support that's going on here while you guys are quiet on me on this end. Taking a look at a few different things here going on within the sport of trade ideas. All right, so can you over the AI know the best of the day for the AI? Can I go over the AI? Sure, we can go over the AI. Let's start. In the last few sessions, I think I kind of started in the middle. So let's start with things that didn't work out for the AI today. So BLDR, something that didn't work out. Breakout, Holy Grail. Yeah, Holy Grail. Breakout on Holy Grail. Kind of see what she was looking for there. Just wasn't going to happen. My theme is man and machine. Intraday wise here, these topping tails, bottoming tails, all that's a big turn off to me right away. I don't mind range, but I don't like when the range is really fighting with itself like that. Having big candles is one thing. Having big wicks and tails is another thing. What's there to comment on this trade specifically? So later in the day, 12:12, the market's kind of sleeping at that point. Things that I do like about it, it caught on the moving averages here, but then it was fighting with the moving averages here. Sometimes you see when those moving averages kind of come together, you get a shot up like that, and it looked like we might get it, but again, just wicked out. Trade that didn't work as far as that goes, and it was hasn't really put you too close to the stop, to be honest. Although it's a nice wide stop on that, so we're going to take a small share size according to the way I've sized it with the AI. But all the same, and see these wicks are going to coincide with this daily chart here and the resistance that it's had there. So it just wasn't going to make that breakout today. It doesn't look like. On top of that, at this point in the day, that's noonish or so that alert comes in, and we can see here at noonish what kind of day we've already had here. So something very similar between the overall market and that. Something to note on a positive closing here. Getting some nice green candles to close here, where the SPY is really kind of just flat and struggling with itself at the moment, trying to find where it wants to close the day on. Moving inside 21 minutes for the close here. So it might be something that's setting up. The other thing that looks real constructive is you have this gap up. Now it's held and held and held. And while I wouldn't call that a bear flag, a bull flag, all the same, you've got this nice consolidation that's in here these days. So again, something noteworthy, very liquid stock, 1.5 mil shares traded today. It's doing a little over its relative volume for 10 days on that average. And so this is something certainly to keep on the radar the next few days. And that would be my kind of comment on that. Just maybe a little early on that one, Holly is. There we go. Just move that out of the way. So that covers kind of what I would say was her ugliest trade. And let's take a look here at some other trades that didn't quite work out the same. So on support, again with Holy Grail. Looks like she's trying to find support down here from prior days. And while we're going to close above that, not a strong day on it. So, again, the algo sees what the algo sees. So my mind goes to the fact that we have a not so strong day in the market overall. This is not some stock that's trading on its own, 1.6 on the relative volume, but only 689,000 shares traded today. So it's not overly liquid at the moment. I won't say it's illiquid. I mean, it's plenty of shares being traded, but all the same, it's not something that's alpha on its own. So you've got some chop in the market after a big run up. You're getting in down below the open of the day. So you're starting underwater as far as the position goes. And, these red candles already, just not finding it for myself. I'll be honest, nothing even interests me moving in the days forward. I will say, I guess, it's a level of interest. There's your on support. That's probably why she got in right there. Probably what the algo is looking at. And so that's kind of the way it went for News Corp. So that's the bad. Let's look at the good. And see your questions there, Perfect Circle. I'll jump to those in a moment here while I wrap up a few more thoughts on the AI, and then maybe we'll dive back to the AI again in a moment. So AMRS, this is when you're going to have to work, gapping down so much. However, on a daily chart, where's the support on this thing? You know what I mean? This was some sort of support, and it just, blew right through that line. And the next area that my eye would go to is somewhere in this area here. There's nothing all the way down here for all that way. So while, yeah, you were going to have to work it, it was definitely a uptick rule that was worth working. You got a green bar ignore that's happening there. Buyers and sellers become even before the sellers take a little bit. All right. You just never really getting any trouble off this all day long. There's no reason to think it was ever going to make that move up. There's just no strength in that buying whatsoever before you finally get this end of the day release here. So, and again, it becomes one of those things where, rushing into a trade, and it's not just about the time of the day, but how fast you rush into the trade off that alert. This was one of those situations where you could have let it set up for you longer. You had a long time during the day. So using Holly as that watch list once again can be a key. And for the reason that there's no one way to use the AI, and that it's always best man and machine. So some other good trades that were in here that maybe I'll jump back into a minute, but I see some questions coming in. So let me round out to those now. Reading through my scan, you can dig a little more into what would make your list other than just maybe pattern, cup and handle flag. What are you looking at? We can definitely do that. Yeah, marathon. It went the marathon. Blew my knee out, mile 18. So I won't go too much into it. I finished the marathon. I scraped it off. Didn't make I was making amazing time, and then my knee went out completely. So that's that. That's life. But it was a beautiful day. It was a historic marathon and all those things like that. So it was pretty exciting stuff. So I'll jump into the evening scan in a second there, Perfect Circle. And does anyone know if there's a scanner setting to help identify double bottom, double top? We kind of have... So we have some... Sorry, I was just getting a message from Andy that you were coming in here there, BZ Capital, about this. So, things you could look at first, we have, if you go right click configure on any scan, or if you were even just start a new scan, if you were starting a new alert window, this is the window you're going to get. And you go to search, and we can come down and scroll. Where are you going to be? Did I pass it already? So this is what you're going to find for this kind of stuff here. Double top, double bottom rectangles, triangles, so on and so forth. They're not the greatest in pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is tough. So you could start with that as an alert and see how that kind of pans out with what filters you're looking at and things like that. My other suggestion to you would be maybe some kind of position and range filters. All right, these different position and range filters, depending on the time frame you're looking at, combined with range. All right, filters here, and those would be the directions that I would send you in. You might even want to look at the change in filters. Some of these here might, for different consolidation patterns around that bottom also. Those would be the directions that I would send you in. I don't have anything specifically built myself as far as looking for something like that, but those would be the filters that I would send you in there, BZ. And then from there, it becomes a little troubleshooting. Assuming you haven't been here before and the risk of beating a dead horse, I always talk about the bull flag scanner that Andy made. He did it just using position range filters, and so on and so forth. There's no pattern recognition in it. So I'm going to share it again. I've shared it a million times, but I'm going to guess you don't have it. So let's first share it. All right. So you can load this here from the cloud. So this is going to be a bull flag scanner on a daily chart. All right. But the idea and what I'm going to dive into here with this is if you right click and you come into the configure window specific filters and we look at what Andy did here. All right. This is all he did. He used these filters. There's no magic trick or pattern recognition. And he was able to return some decent bull flag setups by doing this. And that same concept, I believe, can be applied with just about anything. Obviously, some things are going to be harder than others. The more moving parts that you have to it, the more pivot points you're trying to look for. Something like an ABCD is going to be really hard to do. Is it possible? I don't know if it is or isn't possible. It isn't something I've ever tried to do. But when you're trying to look for less moving parts, so I think double bottom would probably be easier to find than a triple bottom, for example. And these are the kind of things I like to point out, that outside the box thinking. All right. Is there a way to scan for stocks that have been oversold but also had good earnings? Well, you can use RSI for oversold. Good earnings is kind of relative, number one. What do you consider to be good earnings? And then here's what we have for earnings. You have to work within what we have. So we come into configure, we go search, and earnings, and this is what you're going to get here. This is all the data that we're going to have for earnings. So estimated annual and quarterly growth, your PE, and your EPS. All right. That's really it, other than obviously earnings date, but that's not going to give you what the earnings are. So as far as that stuff goes, Robert, that's what you'd have to work within those data points as far as what good earnings are. And AMRS just continues to plug away here at the end of the day. Very nice. Very, very nice move. Like to see it. All right, so Perfect Circle, you asked me to look at my evening scan. So let's take a look here. Load from cloud. It's a little tough because I don't like to do this when the market is open. It's really a scan. I feel like best work is done when prices are settled for the day, but let's just dive in a little bit. So anybody that's been in any of these before knows that a lot of these things are going to look really extended the way I've left the filters. I've done other ones where it has caps, position ranges, so that you don't find something like, I'm going to guess this is going to be one of them. So you don't find something like that. But I just like to look at all these. I just like to look at stuff like that anyways, even whether I'm going to trade it or not. It's more of a not, but just kind of let's pile through these here. And so far, nothing interests me whatsoever. See if we can't find something here that's worth noting. Mostly chart patterns. That's really it. I know that the stock's going to have enough liquidity for me to think about it in here, and I don't want to see something overly extended. So far, everything we're looking at is either overly extended or it's got a plus next to it. So it's really patterns for me. Patterns and price. That's it. There's nothing else to it. Patterns, price, and earnings. Okay, so like this. Have we put in the bottom here? This kind of horseshoe up that's happening here. Not really sure. Looks like it's a really tough area to get through. Bang, bang, bang. Plus now that earnings is there, so not so much, and not enough juice for me with all this other combined factors. Now if this was 7 mil shares traded today and it was trying to bang up through this, that would be a different story to me than 700,000 shares traded. So that's part of what I would look for right there as far as that went. To be honest, I'm not really seeing anything that I like so far, that much, anyways. GSL just is one I just can't seem to get on the right side of. So, all right, I like this. It's already on my like list, anyways. But here it is again. What do I like? I like that. I like that. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. That stuff right there. Now, we're really banging on that number that's right there. So it's like thinking to myself, how long can those sellers hold out on this? It's got a big short growth on there, not a real big short float, but all the same, that means that this number in reality is probably higher now than it is right here, because this stuff doesn't get reported all the time. People lie about their numbers reporting these things like that, and it comes to one of those things. You check 5 different sources, you're going to find 5 different numbers on that. But all the same, my point being is there is already a short interest in it, and it's a short growing interest now. And so now I would bet a lot of those people started to get shorted here, maybe reshort here or added to a position here, thinking that, all right, yeah, it made this move up and now it's really going to take it down, when it's not taking it down. So it remains on my list. Whether I trade it or not will remain to be seen. My issue with this stock has just been, whenever I put in a limit order, it doesn't fill me within the time that I want to be filled, and I pull it, and half the time it moves up, half the time it moves down. So it's just not a stock I have a great feel for. But all the same, I watch it. So that's, give you an idea of something I'm looking at. ARAY. Nope. I put a number of shares traded for the day as 750,000 as the minimum on this, but 750,000 isn't a magic number. It goes back to, for example, what was the one that I looked at a minute ago that I didn't like because of the amount of shares traded in it? I don't even know where it was, if it's even on this list anymore. But something that's bumping its head into some serious resistance, but it doesn't have a lot of, it doesn't have, a few mil shares traded to me. It tells me there's just not enough juice to get through that resistance. That's my thinking in it. I looked at that. That's a SPAC. I don't want to look at a SPAC. So like now this one here, all right, like this beautiful swath that's happening here. We banged against this, and we banged against this, and we banged. So now we've got a range, all right. It's not like we're up something ridiculous here, all right. So getting above this whole kind of resistance area right in here, that looks kind of tasty to me. All right, we've established we got support here, we got resistance up here. All right, so that's what I'm looking at right there. 1.2 mil shares traded today. Earnings are behind it. Beautiful. I love custom computing. The world's always working on technology, more and new. Some decent volume, relative volume that's in that still. Obviously positive RSI convergence. So that's something I like right there. In fact, I like it so much that we'll do some early homework. I don't think it'll come off the list by the end of the day anyways. So put the like on it. Where can you find this setup that I'm using? I'll give you the scan right now. It's a very, very simple scan. I'll go over what's inside the scan. So it's, give me 1 second here. Just want to grab it from my cloud and share it right out, and all of you can have access to it. I like slower trading things. I don't like trading things that are snappy and fast and all over the place and fast time and sales and gapping up and all those things like that. I avoid those stocks. I avoid them like I avoid the plague. So that's that. You go right ahead and load that and make it your own. If we right click here, configure, window specific filters. Let's clean it up. I'm just looking at stocks in between $4 and $30. Want the relative volume to be 1. That means that they're hanging around their normal 10-day average volume. But they have to trade at least 750,000 shares today. They got to be 75% above the low of the 20-day range. So I want to see stocks that are breaking out. I don't want to see stocks that are stuck in no man land. And I like to see things closing strong on the day, 75% above the low of today's range as well. Now, this does return things like this. All right, that have really extended. I mean, I could get rid of those by capping the position range to 100 or something like that. But I want to see things like this. I want to see where some of the other actions going. I want to see things that were heavily traded. I want to note if they're in a specific sector. I want to know if all of a sudden, if there's five stocks that look like this that are all in one sector. I want to be able to. I want to go look at that sector. So that's why I want to look at all the data. That doesn't mean I'm going to trade all that data, but I want to know, where this action is, and figure out how it does or doesn't work into anything else that I'm doing. Just because I'm not trading something doesn't mean it doesn't have relevance to me. Um, yeah, Chris, I'm glad that helps you a little bit. It's just one of those things. There's no one way to use. There's not only no one way to use the program, but there's no one way to use a scan from this. I've said this many times before. I shared the scan with a guy who's completely the opposite how I trade. And he said, I don't understand how you find the setups that you're finding from it. I see the scan completely different. It works good for me day trading. I said, I get it. I mean, I guess I get where I guess I get where you're coming from with that. I just, it's not how I use it, but I understand it. But he couldn't grasp how I use the scan. It was just that simple. So it was kind of, just kind of interesting. That's all. Um, am I swinging these ideas? Craig, mostly I swing, or I guess swing scalp is a better term. So, for example, this one came both from this scan and the Trade Idea Strength Alerts window here. This one here from the Market Explorer. And so I sold some of this today, but I'm still holding some now because I'm hoping to hit the big one. I say that with a grain of salt in the sense that I've locked in some profit. I've moved my stop up along the way. I don't put hard stops in. I just I have enough discipline to know that if the price action moves to my stop, that's the end of the trade. For me, that's not a discipline that I always had, but it's one I have now. So just depending on what's going on in the market is how long I will hold the position for. I my stop is hard and it'll move up accordingly with the price action and moving forward, and a little bit of market influence to it. My target is an approximation and about how I feel about things. One of my biggest sins as a trader is I don't let it happen nearly as much, obviously, but my biggest problem at the beginning of trading was letting green trades turn to red trades, and just by cutting that in half, I all of a sudden became a profitable trader. And so I get a little gun shy sometimes when a stock starts to pull back that I close it. And sometimes, I close it early, and, all the cliches are real. They all exist, cut your losers short, let your winners run, so on and so forth. But learning to actually do those things is really hard. And letting my winners run is still something that I fight with. So just kind of my 2 cents. And, I came to that conclusion by journaling all my trades and realizing that, okay, 9 out of my 10 losing trades are because I was up and I let it go negative. So, it kind of makes me gun shy sometimes. How do you copy the scan? Oh yeah. So real easy there. You're going to take that URL that I shared with you there. Let me show you how. Pull this over like this. So if we go not MT, my evening scan one right there. All right, and you see how this URL is going to come up here. Well, that's the URL that I shared in the chat. I'm going to drop it again here. So copy, paste. So you're gonna take that URL and you're going to copy it. From there, copy, and then you're going to come to the menu bar. All right, this is our menu bar here, and you're going to file, load from cloud. Most of the times, if you've copied a URL, it'll already be loaded down here for you. But just in case it's not, you just paste it in here, you click load, and boom, there it is. And so now I've got duplicates of it up there. And that's how it's just that easy to share. And people get it confused, and it's real easy to confuse, and I can see why anybody does it. But you have a right click, and there's collaborate. Collaborate's a completely different function than sharing from the cloud. And while sometimes we can load things from a collaborate link if you're sharing them with us or someone else is sharing them with you, it's always better to do it via the cloud. It's a little more inclusive, a little cleaner for the coding. So let me know if that made sense there, Jess. And let's clean that up out of there. Let's get rid of that out of there. I think we kind of covered that, so we can get rid of that. Um, okay, hopefully I didn't miss anybody's stuff. We covered that. Yeah. It was Chris was a day that we went right everywhere. But look, I'll dive a little bit around the mark in a second. Actually, we'll take a look at the SPY and some other things like that. Yeah, Elon. Yeah, that's the other thing I stay away from. If something's really talked about in Wall Street bets, I stay right away from it. Anything that's a cult stock, I stay away from. Uh, if one day I have FU money or YOLO money or whatever, then maybe I'll buy 100 shares of something, one of those crazy stocks like that, or something to play around with. You obviously still have a risk management plan involved in it, but I stick to my plan for now. I'm still a very new trader. I've been trading for a little over 4 years, almost 4.5 years. And it took me a few years before I was profitable. So that's that's why I just not going to mess around with with my P&L like that and take shots at things that are just outside of my range. How do you scan for front loading on small cap stocks? I don't really know what that means, Robert, for front loading on small cap stocks, but what I would suggest, just kind of guessing what you mean, is first off, we have market cap filters. So, we can come to market cap. If I could ever type. Sorry, I'm sideways at my desk all funny because I can't bend my legs right now. Market cap. So we can segregate stocks by market cap. Add that filter. So add filter, and we come to the window specific filter, and it's going to give us filter, and we can put in values here. So I don't know what you consider a small market cap. I don't know, 50 million. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So say show me stocks with market caps no more than 50 billion. Is 5 billion small market cap? I mean, how many? We got a bunch of companies now over 1 trillion when we never had that before. So it starts to become relative, that term, what someone considers small cap. So it starts you there. Then as far as front loading, I don't know if you're looking, maybe you want to find people getting squeezed in the small cap. So maybe you're looking at short float or short growth. Point you in those directions. If you're looking at volume, you want to see stuff that's really heavy liquid. A few different things we could do here. Your average daily volumes, volume shares traded today, volume percent traded today. So these are like the kind of areas that I would point you in as far as that would go. And again, I'm not really sure front loaded. If something more specific you want to throw out there with that, and we can dive around right into the configure and see all that looks like, and as far as filters that we have to offer. Let's close that out there. Is the AI best to work with interactive brokers? I don't think it really matters what you use the AI with. I mean, if you're talking about automation, I'm not crazy about automation for the AI. I think it's better managed manually, quite personally, the AI. But I mean, I guess whether interactive brokers or E-Trade is better as far as automation goes, it's a hard one because interactive brokers has a better better borrow list than E-Trade. With E-Trade, you don't have to pay the $5 or $10 a month in data, and you don't pay any commissions either. So, I don't know. You're kind of splitting hairs between those two, to be honest. I wouldn't give either one of those brokers the edge. I mean, if I had my way, I'd use Thinkorswim. But the reason I don't use Thinkorswim is because I like Brokerage Plus. I like to, I do all my trading's manual. I do it through the Brokerage Plus module. And, I went back to IB when we couldn't get Thinkorswim to work for so long. And before E-Trade came alive. So I'm considering actually switching to E-Trade just for no other reason than I want to be familiar with another brokerage platform. And honestly, they all have things that I like and dislike about them. I like Fidelity. I like Active Trader Pro. I like them all, and I could name something good about each one. I could name something bad about each one. So as far as the AI goes, though, I don't think there's any real clear edge on that. I would think it would depend on what you're trying to do with the AI. If you're, something like, I don't even know. Was this hard to borrow? Let me take a look at what Interactive Brokers was saying today on this. No, it was shortable on that. So I would say it would just depend on your overall strategy. How much shorting are you doing? The more shorting you're doing, then probably Interactive Brokers is a better place to go with. Yeah, you know what I mean. That's exactly it. So Weeble's good. You know what I mean. I don't think I don't have anything negative to say about them specifically. We don't link directly to them, but you know, I traded without linking directly to anything for years. I just once I tried our brokerage plus module, that was it for me. Especially with my style of trading, it's just real easy, real clear to manage all my positions in one spot. A lot of these gurus are always pumping stocks, but they're loading them before make the call. If you scan low, I would. I don't think you even have to scan for that, Robert. I would say that know that almost every low float stock that makes a big spike is going to fail. I would say if you took 100 low float stocks that made a spike in a day, 97 of them fail. So just assume it's a false breakout because some human being with a large enough account got that spiked up like that, or a large enough following got it spiked up like that. No way to really scan and know that. We don't have an accumulation filter or anything like that. I would just go with just know for a fact that anything probably under 50 mil that makes a ridiculous move up is probably making that same ridiculous move right back down again. No, not a lot of shorting going on, Chris. There's individual cases, obviously things that reported bad earnings or had a bad report come out about them or anything like that. So there's always something to short, but the market overall would be insane to short this market. I mean, that doesn't mean you can't hedge short when there's pullbacks and things like that. There's all kinds of ways to make money. But all right, yeah. So the market, let's just jump around real fast. There's not a lot to comment, I don't think, on any of this. But look at SPY here, get pretty extended. We come down, touch that 8 EMA again. I talk about there's no magic moving averages. I just happen to like an 8 EMA on all time frames, 20 SMA on all time frames. That's just a 50 for a little more longer term reference. See how extended we are off things. But here, there's your 20 and there's your 8 on the EMA and SMA. Um, and I often talk about a revision to the means here. So, I wouldn't be surprised, if this massive run up here, we recapture the 20 here on that gap up and never look back on this 20 SMA. So I wouldn't be surprised to see us make a revision back to this 20 SMA before deciding if we're going to crash and end the world, or we're just going to keep going up, or we're going to go sideways. I mean, nobody can predict those things, but the thing you can always predict is a revision to the mean at some point. So it seems very reasonable that we would have that 20 SMA at some point in the near future catch up, whether it touches it or overtakes it or not. That'll be remain to be seen, but I think it's safe to say at some point we'll see the SMA get a little closer to that price action that's there on the SPY. Take a look at the Qs. And the things I like to note also with the SPY and the Qs, they're super tech heavy. So if Apple or Facebook or Google or Tesla or Amazon, Netflix, some of these heavier weighted stocks and those make a big move, they're going to affect everything. But all the same kind of theme with the Qs today, maybe a little more punishment in the Qs than on the SPYs. Same idea though, gapped up over this 20. We haven't looked back ever since, just climbing right up that 8, real fast moving 8 EMA. So revision to the mean seems normal there. I saw your question come in, Craig. I'm gonna jump on that in a second. Diamonds, can't imagine there's a whole lot different there. Nope. Again, we gapped up over the 20 here. Boom, boom, boom. Setting up for a possible pullback. I mean, and look, the last pullback, the world was ending again, and it was, I think, a 5 or 5.5% pullback before making all-time highs again. So, make of that what you will. The world may very well end. The stock world may come crashing down, but who cares? Nobody makes money by predicting unless you're selling a product to predict. We're not selling a product to predict. We're idea generation. So that's that. RSP. Let's look at the IWMs first. IWMs, your small cap, your Russells. This one's a little different to me. It was so range bound for so long. All right. So, this one I like to take a little more time on to continue to note The fact of how long it took us to break this range, that's really not a good line for that. That range really begins here. All right, at the very beginning of the year. All right, we end it here, almost at the end of the year. I think it would be really healthy for us to come and test this line right here before trying to make that big move, not big move, but make that move back up again into the end of the year. Something I like to note, this black line that everybody sees here that looks like steps, that's a position 20-day low, all right, that I like to use as an indicator on a daily chart. I always like when I start seeing steps up like this. That's a sign of something healthy going on to me. Just what my eye kind of sees. So that's the note on the small caps. They look strong. They look healthy. They look like they're becoming market leaders. I once upon a time heard that when small caps are leading the way, that's a sign that a crash is coming. The last 4 or 5 times that the market, that the IWM has led the way, that has absolutely not happened at all. So I put that rumor right to rest, or that wives' tale right to rest, as far as I'm concerned. RSP. Now the RSP is your S&P 500, but equally weighted, and so this one's a lot less extended than what we saw in the SPY and the Nasdaq's Q. All right, so again, for this 20 SMA to catch back up to that price action is a lot less either sideways movement or downwards movement, and that's your real market right here, in my humble opinion. All right, so it looks very nice and very strong there. Nice consolidation here, coming off a couple day pullback and a nice move up. Now consolidate a few days, maybe even down day or two, set up for a healthy move back up again. And these are all what possibilities are, not what's going to happen, of course. There's one other. What am I missing? Still can't remember this ticker. MDY, that's it. Again, this is going to be more an equal weighted. This is more what the real market is. Same kind of concept as what we saw in the RSP. Very similar looking charts here. Again, we start to make that move up to take out those all-time highs. We get that healthy couple day pullback before shooting right up. So again, something this way for a little bit, this way for a longer bit, before trying to set up to go that way again. And then that's surmising that no black swans come out. There's no other major thing. I think, like I said, I really avoid news. I know there's, more talk about cutting off more pipelines and energy and things like that, because for some reason that's a good idea to make energy more expensive for people. And so all those things, the market factors these things in long before we're really considering them on anything. So that's a quick market recap. So Craig, what time frame do you work off of when taking your trade? Daily for setup, but what about entry? Seems always meet up with entry, i.e. dips after the entry. Not so much as working with the time frame as I'm working with price action and candles. So like it's better for me to just give examples off something I traded. So here's another. Where am I? We'll go back to any. So, a couple things on this chart here. All right. First, this pattern. All right. That's number one. Number two, I've now established a risk range within this pattern. All right. This kind of area down here, just below today's low of the day. I like that for my risk. Even this orange line is kind of where I drew my line in the sand, more or less. All right. So I've established that risk based on a daily chart here. How I'm going to share size is, and what I'm willing to risk on the trade is based off that as my stop loss to start with. And then I start to think, well, where am I looking at for a target now? Okay. And I'm thinking that, the way we're doing this here off these two things, they're at the minimum somewhere in between here and here on the maximum is what I'm looking at now. So I've established what I consider to be a really good risk to reward ratio. All right. But the next thing I talk about is I don't like to take trades too early. I like to initiate trades, we'll say in between 9:50 a.m. Eastern and 11:15 a.m. Eastern. Okay. So you can see right here, I got into the trade just before 11 Eastern. All right. I was watching this because of the Trade Ideas strength alerts from the ME, which you all have access to if you're on the latest beta. And, I thought to myself, all right, well, makes that quick move up. But I know how any can be. I see these wicks and things like that, but I also see, some solid consolidation days in here too. So I know it's capable of both things. All right. I like the way that setup's coming into these days off of that. I like the way we came down and tested things right here. The sellers couldn't really get it. So, all those things went into the factor of me looking at this. On top of that, it was something I was already looking at. It wasn't like something just suddenly popped on my scanner and I had to make a decision in a few minutes. I was already looking at this by 8 o'clock this morning. It was on my radar, 8 a.m. Eastern this morning. I had a price alert set. My original price alert was actually down, I think I had it at 710. It's changed obviously since then. It's up here, but I think had it at like 710, and I was looking at as a pullback actually to try to get in on a pullback, and got the alert, and there was a spread on it, and I ended up getting filled at 715. So that's what all the thought process that went into that. But I did work to look at this. I don't like scanning and just getting into things off the scan. I have Barry's option scanner here. I like his option scanner. I take trades from it once in a while, not very often. But generally speaking, something like that, there's no work that went into that chart for me. That's why I do my evening scanning the way I do. That's why I have my liked list. That's why you see all these stocks here on this liked list. Any happens to not be on the liked list right now. I just never clicked it this morning, but any was on here on this ME scan for the TI strength. Where are we? Hopefully I can pull it up here. Any was on here from yesterday. All right. So this is what got me interested in any, but I didn't want to get in it at that price at that level. That's why I set a pullback. I set a price alert for a pullback. If it kept going without me, so be it. That's what it was meant to be. But I like that entry and I like that setup at that price range. And I didn't like it at, above that 720 price range. I just felt like I was giving up too much risk for reward I was giving up. So hopefully that kind of answers what you're looking for there, Craig. I know what the sexy thing is to find a trade like this here, and not even that. Well, let me find something that's going to be what I want to give an example of. It's an okay example. Okay, here's the I know it's awesome to find this. You got it here at the beginning of this candle, and you get this fast run up, and you're in and out, and you made I don't know $1,000, $500, $200, whatever, however your share sizing and all that. That's not my trading. I think that 99% of people cannot trade like that. We all like to think we can, but we can't. That's the fact. So what I like to do is I like to set myself up with the best quality possible setups going into the next day, and that's why I do the work that I do in the evenings. Most of my scanning is either done in the evenings or before the market opens. Just kind of depends on my personal and work schedule for my obligations with trade ideas, and set myself up. And that's why, all these stocks here on my liked, some of these stocks have been on this list for a very long time. Some of them probably don't belong on there anymore. I need to probably clean this up. But they were all, for one reason or another, something that's set up in a way that I liked. Doesn't mean I traded. I probably traded less than half the stocks that are on this list. But they're all on here for a reason, and to give me a window that has ideas of charts that I've been looking at and working, and not something that just randomly pops up. And I'm left scrambling, like, well, how does it look on a daily chart? How does it look on a 15-minute chart? How does it look on here? Where's the resistance? Where's this? Something like, for example, BCRX here. I've been trading this one since December of last year. All right. I have a feel for the stock. I have its personality. Is it boring? Absolutely. Am I making money? Absolutely. I'd rather make money boring than lose money exciting. So, I've been trading this thing since this gap up day right here, as a matter of fact. This was the first day I took some home that day. It was over a weekend, as a matter of fact, and rode some of that out. And then I got out. And I've taken losses on this stock, and I've taken wins on this stock. But all the same, I got a feel for a personality of it. You can see I, have a pivot line I might like to move around, and it's going to remain on my liked list. Makes sense. UPST. What in the? Well, let's take a look. UPST. Just note 420. I'll be peeling out of here about 4:30 as usual, unless there's some pressing questions coming in. Yeah, that's not fun. Oh, Upstart. Isn't this the stock that that guy got in trouble for on CNBC? That's hysterical, as a matter of fact. For those that don't know, if you're on Twitter, some guy was on CNBC a few weeks ago, I guess, and Tyler Matheson was interviewing him, and Tyler asked him about, the different stocks he was in. He asked him about Upstart and what do they do, and then the guy pretended like he couldn't hear Tyler anymore. He was just full of crap. He had no idea what the stock did. He was just on CNBC pumping some random stock that he bought that was up 30% since he had bought it. And just showing you that, as long as you pay enough money, you can say whatever the hell you want on TV and pump your stocks, and the SEC doesn't care. That's not the game that we're involved in. So it is what it is, but just hilarious to note. Hope that guy's still holding his bag right now. I'm just kidding. I don't wish ill on anybody, but the universe has a way of working things out once in a while. So funny to note. You better believe I'll be tagging Kenny Lay on Twitter about this later. If you know what that means, you know what that means. Parody account on Twitter for the Enron chairman from way back in the day. Anyways, yeah, Upstart, interesting. Always some humor to be had out there. So again, I see people drifting in and drifting out, kind of low numbers on the viewers today. But anybody that's in here, if you got questions, fire them away. We got a couple minutes before I peel out of here for the day. What else? Anything else noteworthy here? Can't see a thing worth noting here. I'll touch back again. Talked about silver a little bit yesterday, and that I started to change my tone on silver. Just look at silver itself. I'm glad you find it helpful, Craig. Yeah, you have a great evening too. Appreciate that. I know it's not a big crowd in here ever, but I do this for our subscribers more than anything else. I want everybody to win. I want people to get out of the software what I got out of the software. And maybe not the exact same thing, obviously, because we're all different and different walks of life and things like that. But I want people. I found a lot of success in the software. It took some time because trading's hard. But I believe that anybody with some hard work can get it. So, but just to touch on silver real quick. It's kind of deep move here and almost a deep move here. Very similar, just on a smaller set of time frame here. I won't call it a cup and handle. I want to, but I'm not going to call it a cup and handle. But all the same, I kind of feel the winds are changing on silver. I've been wrong about it before. I could very well be wrong about it again. It's just one of those tough ones that I think things got messed up with silver when that whole Wall Street bets and silver squeeze happened all back here and all that craziness. I think that really kind of affected how people were going to trade silver. And then, I don't know if it was JP Morgan or someone like that was then on the Wall Street bets, and they were, making fake accounts and pumping things one way or knocking things another way, get into all that nonsense or whatever. I think it played some kind of role in what happened with silver and backed a lot of people out of it. There's still work to be done, but you don't get the upside by waiting for the upside to have already happened. You get the upside by doing your work on a chart, and then based on that work, making your managed risk entries and exits. So just kind of looking at this here, almost kind of like that way it's flagging like that there. Anyways, so I put a few silver stocks on my watch list here. My like symbols, the two that I'm looking at mostly are this guy here. Almost took a trade in it, but then silver gave it up today, and no happy accident that it looks exactly like the intraday chart of silver, but it really recovered, and I'd say that's very healthy on a daily chart. Looking at what this did today, and what do I mean by very healthy? Looking on a daily chart, we came right down here. And those sellers really tried to run it. Came down and touched that faster moving 8 EMA on the daily and closed right back up there, just a touch under for the day. So that's some strong price action from the buyers there. The other one I'm looking at, SSRM, I think it is. I don't know what that did at all today. Actually, that's funny. It alerted here, as a matter of fact, on my scan. Right there. Probably top ticked it too. Yeah, top ticked it, but it closed up a few pennies anyway. So um, not the exact same price action, but you can see the sellers, they tried to get it down. The buyers brought it back up, and the buyers got back in control the rest of the day. So maybe that's shaking out some weak hands. Doesn't seem unreasonable to say something like that. All right, we're starting to clear some pretty significant resistance here. You know, trying to get through that level right there. I like the chart. This might be something. So what I talked about before, I think Craig might be gone already. But what I talked about with any, something similar to any, in the sense of might set a price alert for somewhere in this range and see if I can't get a pullback to that range to get an entry that I like on that. I still don't want to chase it here this far off that moving average, for me anyways, only because this level concerns me right there. Otherwise, I would probably look closer at an entry here, if not for being A, extended off the moving average, and B, those levels of resistance. That's, kind of what I'm seeing there. So just my 2 cents is way more helpful in digging through the videos. Yeah, and I don't know if you have it, videos are great. We got videos on just about everything, but just in case anybody here doesn't have it yet, copy, link, paste. That's the user's guide. There's a search function in that user's guide too, so you can get a lot out of that. I'm going to bring it over real fast here. There's a user's guide. Click like so. Full table of contents, and then you can search for things here too. So just another. This is something new. This only came out a month ago, give or take. And Steffi, who is the architect of this whole thing, she updates it. So if we change something in the software, she's all over it, updating it in this here. And there's probably something that could be either done better, or expressed a little better. So if you ever come across something like that, feel free to shoot us an email. Say, hey, I was going to the user guide and just wondering about this compared to that. We take we take it and we'll run with it accordingly, how it works or doesn't work in that sense. But so a pretty inclusive user's guide right there. This just came in. Is that enough of a range? On SSRM, I like the range here on SSRM. I mean, move from 16 well up over 17. So, got plenty of range here. This is a stock. I've traded the stock a bunch of times. I traded this a bunch during the pandemic, actually. It can definitely move the stock, even with a 215 mil on the float. Definitely good range to work with there. But remember, the range cuts both ways. Got this beautiful green candle up here, but we've also got this ugly gap down and go for a couple of days here too. So, range is good when you're on the right side of that range, and that's where the risk management comes in. And risk management is hard. There's no software that gives you real risk management. There's software that can give you risk management based on an algo, but not based on what pain you're physically willing to sit through. And what I mean by that is, take something like this from Holly here, right? Huge stop on this, all right? Huge stop on that. Almost a $3.50 stop on that for an intraday. That's taking no shares. But if we were risking $100 based on this, we'd have only taken 28 shares based on that entry today. As someone that was day trading, probably not appealing. Now, if I was swing trading, and I was going to swing that thing short, which I don't know about swinging short, but all the same, then maybe that's something comfortable like that for someone like that. But this is set up in a risk parameter sense based on some ATR and things like that. Or not ATR, excuse me, intraday ranges. So that's, how that works in that sense. It's not set up for your specific risk management. And, having your own risk management, there's no substitute for having your own risk management. Figuring that out, that's one of the tougher parts. Setting up your risk management is the same as coming up with a business plan. You don't go to the bank and say, hey, I got a great business idea. Can I get a loan? And then the bank says, sure, but what's your business plan, not your idea? And you say, well, I don't have a plan. I just got a good idea. This town has no donut shops, but we're going to make money selling donuts. Well, how are you going to do it? How are you going to open it? How are you going to staff? How are you going to, buy your products? How are you going to finance the debt? Do you have investors? Well, I don't have an answer to any of those questions. Well, the bank doesn't have any money for you. Well, the same concept. You open a trading account. You're the bank funding that trading account. You got to have a plan to fund that trading account. If you think of it like that, it kind of changes the mentality of trading from being a job to a business, and trading is a business. You're employing yourself. So just my 2 cents there. So, um, all right, I think someone's coming into our chat and they might be sending them over here. So I'll sit here for a moment and get a little overtime. All right. Well, that's someone looking for a way to API plug into us, which does not exist. Sorry for them. So, all right, I'm gonna throw it up. Kind of a auctioneer's call, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Someone has something they want to go over or see or discuss or throw out there before I call it a day. Buy you a little time here. The VXX again today. No. I made that big move and then kind of faded the rest of the day. And just for anybody that doesn't know, the VXX is just a way to hedge volatility, essentially. Um, if you're long the market and long volatility this way, if your long the market trade doesn't work, you're hedged on the volatility here. That's kind of the idea from that. When you say it's hard to read on YouTube, is like the lettering and stuff bad? Because I tried to work on the definition or whatever it is, being high def or whatever, it's coming in 1080p or something like that. So you're having trouble seeing this on your screen, like what's happening in all these windows there, Chris? Can't read the fields. All right, I'll remember that for moving forward. I experimented with making some of this bigger and then smaller. I'll go bigger again tomorrow. Uh, that's so weird. Some people get it in that. I have it set up to show in high def for you guys. So weird. General camera audio. Where am I looking at? I'm just not sure why it does that like that. Some people get it in high def and others don't. Like if I log into YouTube, I can see it right now, and I'm in 1080 in YouTube. Yeah, quality 1080. Let me see something here. Display. What was I using before? Let me try this. Yeah, that gets it all funky on me though. Squash this all in. You can try to go with this, I guess. Oops, reverted back on me. I'll play with it a little bit for tomorrow again, and we'll do this like a team like that. So. So, all right, gonna stop messing around with that. All Are there any sign up deals right now? We there'll be something coming for Veterans Day. I don't know if it's tomorrow or the next day there, Craig. So um, I'm just checking my email to see if anything went out yet for that. There's 15% right now. I'm guessing there's going to be a 20% for Veterans Day right now. And then there'll probably be either for Black Friday or Thanksgiving or a combination there. It'll probably be 25% off, but we're a couple of weeks out before that happens. So, I mean, I would throw this out to you there, Craig, if you want to, I always tell people we love to have new subscribers, obviously. I always tell people don't rush. We're not going anywhere. The market's not going anywhere. Saving a couple of bucks is never wrong with doing that. You're never going wrong by saving a couple of dollars. So, attend these webinars, Barry's room, a few other things like that. Keep your knowledge pool growing, and then when that 20 or 25%, whatever you want to hang out for, take that. Yeah, you're welcome, Chris. We'll catch you tomorrow. I'm gonna wrap it up here in just a second. So I would just say don't rush, Craig. Hang out and get the 25% is the largest we ever do. So hang out for that to happen. Trying to think of what's the best way for you to get alerted to that. You could just info at trade-ideas.com. If you wanted to send an email there, Craig, and just say, hey, Chris said there's going to be a Veterans Day sale. If I can get alerted for the code when that comes out, and myself or someone else will get to you as soon as that code comes out, and we'll send it along to you. Oh, okay, then yeah, Barry will get you that code done. Yeah, 100%. Barry will tell you as soon as that thing hits. Barry will let you know for sure. I don't. What's tomorrow's Wednesday? Veterans Day's Thursday. So I don't know if the code will be marketing controls, all that stuff. They just tell us when the code is live. So yeah, just hit Barry up tomorrow and tell him, hey, Chris said that. Chris said that you'll have a code for me for Veterans Day. Let me know when it comes out, Barry, and Barry will take care of you. So, all right, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for the engagements. Thanks for the comments and the questions. We'll be back here tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern. Do it all over again. All right, take care. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.